Hello, welcome into a new edition of Chi Time, your Energy Matters show with me, Clara Apollo. And on this episode, I am very excited to have with me a complete pioneer in the field of bring the people together, let's manifest what needs to happen next. You know, this is so important that we actually have steps to follow, that we are shown how to grow together as communities together. And I could go on and on about what Chi Time is about, but actually I really would love to crack on and chat to this amazing woman. Katherine Macbean is with us from the People's Health Alliance. Welcome in, Katherine.
Hello, hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. We know it is the PHA, don't we, really? But that is the, what it's about. The People's Health Alliance. That's telling us what's going on, isn't it? And you are a co-founder. So I'm just going to do a little overview for people here. So Katherine Macbean is one of the founding members of the People's Health Alliance. And that's what we're going to be chatting about today, obviously. And she's been aware of the need to create a people-led approach to societal living for the last 25 years. You've been percolating this for a while, then, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And her awakening started with the agriculture industry, which is where her passion lies, and for many years has been helping with the creation of community-led projects that return the power back to the people before getting involved with what you are now, the People's Health Alliance. So, wow, 25 years in the making here. So do you think that everything that you were doing in the agriculture industry, was that leading to what it is you're doing now?
I think everything that's happened or I've been through for the last 25 years has absolutely led me to this point, because a lot, like many people, a lot of what I've gone through over the last couple of decades has been a lot. You know, I've been a single parent of 3 kids for, where are we, about 11, 12 years now. And that in itself, without much, you know, a very basic income, if you like, that in itself can be challenging. But you learn to overcome hurdles. You learn to overcome, I lived in quite an affluent area. So how people viewed me as a single parent was often quite derogatory. And you learn to deal with it. You learn your own self-worth. And what I've had the opportunity to do is go along doing my shadow work, but as well as doing very, very practical steps in learning more, knowing we're going to have to reach this point, and what can we do when we get there? How can we take back our power? How can we make sure we come out of this not just surviving, but thriving? And so everything I've learned has led to this point, and it's wonderful for me. A lot of people finding this very difficult, but I know we have to just go through this process in order to come out the other side, and something far more beautiful will be birthed and is being birthed. It started. That process has been started. We're just a little bit ahead of the game, I think, in terms of making sure those foundations and those infrastructures can be put into place before we see, you know, the sort of Rome fall, if you like. So that's what we've been doing, is focusing on the positive and making sure we build something very beautiful.
This is so true, Katherine, because you know we can feel that the change is occurring, and within that is, but we don't know where we're going. What's happening next? Help! And all this fear that's being mongered by mainstream is just making our health decline more and more and more. And we're about, well, I am certainly, I know you are as well, about health being your true wealth. And if your health is zapped from you, then you're not able to make coherent decisions. You don't really know what's best. You're going to be in fear even more. You're not going to have a happy life. And, you know, come on, are we here to have fun somewhere along the line as well as being serious? So I love what you were saying around that, you know, overcoming challenges, being a little bit ahead of the game, feeling that you know something has to change, and then asking the question, what has to change? And how can I help? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so to be honest with you, through the years, predominantly my focus has been on food and farming, because that's kind of what woke me up, if you like, as to something being wrong, something being very, very amiss here with how we do this. So that was the thing that really drove me initially. But obviously you're looking at health, you're looking at education, you're looking at politics, at media, all of it. You look at the whole shebang in terms of the infrastructure that we have available to us, and where those changes need to come in, what needs replacing, or what needs to be revolutionized, if you like, in terms of how we proceed. So for me, it was always food and farming that was at the forefront of my mind, but I was very aware of the other issues. Though when the NHS, the government, sorry, came in and started shouting about these NHS vaccine mandates. I knew at that point, okay, let's dive straight into health. Let's get this going. And the model that we create, we had to have it front of our mind. The model we create for this has to be something that we can easily transfer into education,
Yes.
into food and farming, into other areas of infrastructure, so that all of it returns power back to the people within their communities. And we become in a situation whereby we actually don't need the central powers. Thanks very much.
Exactly. And so, we don't have the script. We're not taught to do this, are we? And yet we can, So for these 25 years of cogitation that you were doing, and you were feeling, that something needs to happen that's going to be, is it for the people, by the people? How come that all got taken away from us? Where do we let that happen? We were lured by shiny objects or things, aren't we? It's like, hang on, bring it. We're reclaiming this power of community, power of care. So when you were thinking about, how do I do this? What was dropping in for you around this actual practical how-tos?
So I stripped everything back to basics. It was very much because one thing that I'd noticed is we're just not a happy society overall. We're not happy, and we weren't happy 20 years ago. I think things have definitely become a bit darker, but I don't think we were truly happy back then. And I was trying to figure out, well, when was do I notice within society we're last truly happy? And the 80s seemed to be a good time.
Yes.
But prior to that, it's been tricky on and off for centuries. So I decided to look back at the basics. What do we need as human beings? We need food, we need shelter, we need clean water, clean air, we need communities, we need good health, and so on and so forth, and good quality food. And so really stripped it back to basics, and then looked at the industries that were supposed to be leading on this front and where they were going wrong, what they were doing that was so awful. And what I was watching over the years was just this push towards centralization, this push towards global centralization, keep moving that. And when I looked at the players that were pushing it, and I knew that they were what I considered to be the bad guys, I instantly thought, well, we probably need to be doing the opposite. What's that to look like? And it was about that decentralization of power back to the people, back to the communities, because whilst we keep it as a central place, our ability to have a say, to do what we need to do, is just so limited. They give us enough freedom for us to, have that feeling that we are free. We're so not. We're so far from being free. It is ridiculous. So we can't. We're within their stranglehold. So the easiest thing to do, and this is where the mind shift comes in, this is where people need to really change how they view it, is for so long we've thought, well, we can't cope without them. They control this, they control that, they do this, that, and the other. We've also become very lazy, very lackadaisical, because we're so used to being nannied that, and a lot of us have been raised in that period of history where we're being so nannied, everything's done for us. We've become really quite despondent about our own futures and about our own power and what that political, kind of landscape should look like. So it's very much about changing that mindset, because as long as we remain lawful, we can do whatever we want. We can do whatever we want. The only thing that's stopping us is us. Nothing else is getting in the way. As long as we remain lawful, nothing else is getting in the way of us doing it. So with the PHA, what we're doing, everything's above board, everything's lawful. We're just becoming a PMA, a private members association. So we make sure we're ticking the relevant boxes, but we've chosen that route so that we aren't dictated to the nth degree by other powers, if you like. We retain the element of, I don't like to use the word control, but the control over ourselves and how we get to go forward. So it is a massive mindset shift. We've got to kick out that old way of thinking that, we won't be allowed to do that, or they're going to give us hassle about that, or they're going to make our lives difficult. Actually, guys, it's come to the stage where old way of thinking's got to go out the window. We fight for the new, and we fight hard. But that doesn't mean we need to spill out onto the streets with violence. What it means is that we do not give up. We do not drop our integrity. We do not, think, it's too much hard work, can't be bothered. Absolutely not. Take the bull by the horns and do it. And if we all do it in a very small way, just within our street or within the next few roads along, and we start with that and making those connections and doing those things, that's a starting point. And it's not hard, it's basic, it just takes numbers. But the way we're growing at the moment is just incredible.
Whoa. Katherine Macbean is here with us on She Time talking about the People's Health Alliance and me, Clara Apollo. And yeah, when did this all start then? When did the People's Health Alliance actually open its doors? What are we talking?
So a small group of us started talking last year
Hmm.
and kind of working with a few specialists to look at what different models could look like, how we could bring this to the fore, making sure we engage with the public so we understood really what they wanted to see happen so that we do, it is organic, so we do grow as we go. We don't have all the answers right now, not everything is in place, it's not the finished product, but actually there isn't time for that. So we're moving what we can do with what we've got in the best way possible. And
Love
as we
it.
already, as we're growing, we're seeing different ways of doing certain things better, and we're improving on that, and then sharing that with the teams. But in all earnest, we kicked off in April. The
2022.
real, yeah, the real was properly formed in February. So that's when we
Right.
really sort of solidified who we are. And we opened the doors, if you like, in April. And we're in June, end of June, and we've already got, well,
Me.
nudging close to 100 groups across the UK who want to build health hubs. 25% of those, I'm told this morning, 25% of those have secured property or are in the process of doing so to make it happen. Some communities are looking at mobile units. So they're looking at buying a bus type thing, doing it
Uh-huh.
up, being able to go round and help from that point of view. And as of yesterday, we've got 15 countries now reaching out who want to now bring PHA into their country. And we've got our first meeting in a couple of weeks. So we're just
Wow.
modifying our model to suit that, and the information to suit that.
Okay.
But it's just incredible, absolutely incredible.
Oh, well, this is a shining light. This is a
Yeah.
beacon. This is like it's time and it's now. And I love what you were saying that you sort of grow as you go. It's like we don't need to know all the answers. In fact, we're never going to know all the answers because it's an ongoing development of revolution or evolution. And so to have that mechanism at place at the beginning means that it will start to feed in and yeah, I bet you have lots of meetings, don't you?
I've actually got really good at letting go of the control freak side of me and learning to delegate, because we've got some
Okay.
immense volunteers who can do the job at
Wow.
certain things so much better than me. Never try sticking a
Right.
square peg in a round hole. If someone, and that's the beauty of it, we've thrown egos out the window. All of that nonsense is gone. If someone steps up and they can do a better job at me at something, please do crack on.
Fill your boots.
Absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant. Go for it. And that's how we've developed so quickly as well, is by chucking those egos out the window,
Yeah.
making sure they come into play, and realizing bigger picture here. This is for all of us, even those who
Yes.
need it yet. This is for all of us. And that mentality is really helping to drive us forward.
It's so refreshing because it's also helping people to step into their power, which is something you mentioned earlier around we've been disempowered by the way that the country's been run, by nations have been run for a long, long time. And so to step into your power can feel a bit like, oh, but if I step into my power, I'm getting into being in my ego. It's like, no, 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 no. Personal empowerment is much deeper and more robust than what your mind thinks you should be doing next. I mean, don't get me wrong, the egos can be helpful, but they need to be working on behalf of the heart. The heart basically needs to run the show now, and hearts naturally want to connect and communicate. And it feels to me like this is what's happening with the PHA.
It's just so lovely. We had so all these groups coming together, and they want, a couple of them wanted to adjust the logo to add their group, their local area, be it Bristol,
Okay.
be it whoever. And our guys was just so busy in the design side, so busy with other things, that a couple of volunteers just came forward and said, "Oh, we'll do it for everyone." So they've taken 100 hubs, created logos for each and every one of them, just in their spare time, just out of the goodness of their heart. And this is just one example of dozens and dozens and dozens where people are just coming forward and saying, "Well, I can do that bit. I'll do that for everyone," or "I can do that bit," and that's how you grow. It isn't about, because I mean, our financial situation is rubbish, really, bigger picture. It's not like we've got wads of cash at all. Far from it. But um that'll come, the money will come,
Yeah.
and it'll go out for our emergency appeals and so forth to help
Right.
with the ambulance service situation and
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
forth. So yeah, but it just is incredible how much money we could have spent to get to the stage we are if it hadn't been for the generosity of time and energy and creativity from all of these volunteers who just
Yeah.
love what we're saying and what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing, they're seeing action. People want to see action, and we're actually
Yes.
doing it, not talking about it, we're just doing it. And as a result of that, they're so keen to get involved, and it's incredible, it's lovely.
Wow, wow, wow. The energy's right. The chi is spot on. And that's the currency of the heart. So, that's what it flows so naturally and easily when you are in alignment, when you're in frequency with your soul tribe. And that's what's happening now, and nothing can stop it. And we're going to carry on talking with Katherine Macbean from the People's Health Alliance very shortly. Particularly want to talk to you about this ambulance situation. But let's go to a track now. And I'd really love to play some John Lennon. Is that all right with you?
Perfect. Go for
Okay,
it.
so this is Power to the People. What else could it be? Be back with you after this. Stalker! Welcome back into your Chi Time, where your energy matters, with me, Clara Apollo, here on UK Health Radio, on podcast, and on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, do please remember to subscribe, and then you'll get to know what we're bringing through next for you. But on this episode, if you've been listening earlier, you will know that Katherine Macbean from the People's Health Alliance is with us, talking about this revolutionary new way of bringing healthcare into the hands of the people, for the people. And so we're not overriding the NHS, we're just realizing that it's having a really tough time, and there are doctors and nurses that can see how terrible, what a dive is going on here. And I would think they're looking further afield to go, how can we actually help to bring our practices into the people that need them? Because I don't know about you, I can't even get to see my GP. It's like nigh on impossible, but I would like to talk to somebody about something. And it's funny. So the people involved with the PHA, are they across the board, different healthcare workers? What are we talking about here?
Absolutely. So we very much wanted to have an integrative approach to health. For too
Okay.
many years, those practitioners who would probably fall under the banner of holistic practitioners have been pushed into the shadows and overridden for the allopathic approach. And one thing we are doing is making sure we bring those people out of the shadows and into the light. They've got so much to
Okay.
offer, so many approaches they can bring. If you're at a primary care level and you can't get to see a GP, there are so many of these practitioners that are going to be able to help you. So we want to make sure there was space for them, but it's very much open to the allopathic doctors and nurses who want to come forward. We've had a number who actually want to train in an alternative practice, so that they can include that in what they offer their patients. And a lot of these guys are opening their eyes to looking at this more natural way of healing. But saying that, this is about choice. This is about options and opportunities.
Yes.
So we're not here to tell you you've got to be holistic or allopathic. No, what you bring with goodness in your heart to your patient, to your client. And that relationship is between the two of you. And no one should be told they have to go one way or the other. What we are looking for allopathic practitioners to do is hopefully understand greater knowledge about, and we can help with that, understand greater knowledge about the holistic practices. So if
Yeah.
they have a patient come to them, and actually that patient could avoid being put on pharmaceutical products, for example, there can be another way that allopathic practitioner can then refer to a holistic practitioner to go down that natural route first. Maybe look at nutrition, look at what's going on inside of them as a whole picture, a whole healing approach, rather than that let's look at that one part of your illness and stick a plaster on it, rather than getting to the root cause. So it's really changing our approach towards treating health as well as us patients and clients taking on a far greater responsibility for our own health. And PHA want to help with that through education. We've just kicked off, it's just started, but we have got things starting to come through now, different ways that we can advise and help. And there's a health optimization program on our website that people can
Great.
access free of charge. So if you're post-viral, you've got issues ongoing,
Yeah.
maybe you want to give your immunity a really good boost, that's there for you to tap into. And again, it takes the whole whole healing approach. It's not just about supplements. It's about gut health. It's about sleep, stress, all of those different elements that surround our health. And all of those really need to be kind of looked at and balanced and worked on in order for us to achieve those higher levels of health. So it's a process. We've just started. I'm working on my own health. I'm not a health practitioner, but I'm working on my own health because I'm so inspired by these practitioners and the simple steps we can take, that we can take ownership of, that we can take responsibility for, that we can do to help ourselves. And thus we're less of a strain then on the
Exactly.
services that are out there. Now, when it comes to that's more of a primary care focus.
Yeah.
We have got a group of incredible
Mhm.
practitioners now looking at a secondary care level. I can't
Okay.
go into too much detail because those are just really initial conversations that
Right.
far cleverer people are talking about than me, who have wealth of experience.
Mm.
I will just say the word council of elders and allow that to sit and ferment, because there will be more news coming on that later down the line, which I'm really excited about. But what we did have to do several weeks back was launch our Power of the Pound appeal. Um,
Okay. Hang on, because we will come to that.
okay.
I'd just like to come round again to this personal empowerment thing. So, as a qigong teacher, I started to get into this when my lad was younger, and I was really burnt out, and I was looking for ways to heal myself. And it was great to go to a massage therapist or to get some Reiki or whatever, but I wanted to know what I could do for myself, and I found this qigong, which is a holistic mind body movement practice, really helped me. That's such a short version of the story, but it was like that then set me on a road to what I can do for myself. And then it showed me, actually, well, if I learned to do these simple practices for myself, could I share them with others? And I feel like that's what's rolling through this as well. As you find out what works for you, you
Yeah.
naturally want to share it with others. And a couple of weeks back, we had an osteopath, acupuncturist, paramedic in on the program to talk about
Brilliant.
East-West healthcare, and this synergy of the East and the West, and remembering that the Eastern approach, that's Ayurvedic and Chinese, have both been around for like decades,
Yep.
thousands and thousands of years
Yep.
before the Western healthcare came up. So here's an opportunity within the PHA to do this synergistic work that is calling through. It wants to happen. The best of both, not one or the other, both and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it is, again, it's down to choice and what resonates with you. And it's also
Yes.
transition, because
Yes.
a lot of people who are maybe early in, if you like, their awakening, they
Mm.
haven't necessarily visualized or investigated or researched what other areas of holistic health are out there. So as they're coming through this transition, if they want to stay with an allopathic doctor, but that leads them to then look at other things, maybe open their eyes to other opportunities that are laid before them, that's fantastic. But we can't suddenly just say, right, it's just got to be holistic or it's just got to be allopathic. No,
Can't do that
we've been
anymore.
told for far too long
Right.
this other. It is now down to personal choice. And
Totally.
you taking back your power to make the decision of what you're going to do with your body. It's you.
Yeah. Self responsibility, but that does take some internal mettle, and
Yeah.
some. It's nice to have other people around that you can talk to reassure you, and I think that's something, this call to community that's happening here. And after the lockdown, after feeling quite isolated, I mean, I live on my own, don't even have a pet,
No.
and it was like, oh, I really value community. Like, oh, I want to get something going here because I only moved here like 3 years ago, and it made me realize how little, how much we take for granted, the ways that we can travel or the ways we can communicate. It's like, hang on a minute, I think I need to have some grassroots, local. Everything goes down, I've got someone to share a cup of tea with or a chat and see what we can do for the local community. And I think this is underlying here as well. It's like a grassroots movement, isn't it? The people want this. They're thirsty for it. It's nurturing our hearts to help others. It just does. I think everybody's fundamentally kind, actually.
Yeah.
If somebody's struggling, 99.9% of people, I would think, would say, how can I help?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're probably right. And I must admit that over the years, because I made mistakes, I did things wrong, I was learning as I was going. And at that point, there wasn't really anyone else to talk to either. So you're kind of completely
Right.
alone. So one thing that became very clear to me was the fact that this division has been caused intentionally. This looking at each other in a certain way, becoming more insular, becoming more isolated, because it's just the vibe you're getting from everything that's going on around you, TV, all of it.
Mm.
And so to bring us back to community, back to basics, back to taking care of each other, bringing that equity of health and happiness for everyone, is key to moving into the new world. And that isn't something we can easily do alone. Actually, we kind of do have to reach out to each other and put faith in each other, a bit of trust, a bit of love. And it's a very small mixture of things, but actually what we're seeing come out the other side of it is just profound. It's just incredible.
Wow, wow. It is, but there's a bigger purpose going on here as well. There's
Yeah.
a bigger vision. This is across the UK at the moment, the People's Health Alliance. These are hubs popping up all over the UK. We've got 100 at the moment. There will be more by this time next week, I'm sure. And in other countries, you've now got 15 other countries involved. And it's not just about health, is that? Is it? There's some, if you're getting food involved and education, you can't really, everything points towards health, really, doesn't it? Health and community. So,
Well, a bit of a debut conversation because
okay.
we've officially said, and it's been in the pipeline for a while, that the People's Food and Farming Alliance is coming to life. I'm currently working on the blueprints for that and putting together a team. We're not rushing it because we've still got some foundational stuff to lay in place for PHA. But I would suggest in August, we're going to see that starting to roll out. And we've also got another team of people looking at education, and that should be hopefully a month or two after that. So we're going as fast as we can,
You
but we're
are.
still a voluntary based organization. I'm the
Yes,
only
of
person
course.
who's been paid. I am the
Wow.
only person who's been paid, and there's people working 40, 50 hours a week of their free time. And until this month, I was doing exactly the same. We're throwing ourselves into this because actually it's not
Yeah.
just a case of we'd quite like to do that. We have to do it now.
You
We
have to
have
do it
to.
now. You can't
Yeah.
wait around. And I suppose there are people with different skill sets coming in that might be able to help see what grants you could get, what that kind of thing. But that's a job in itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and I think we all know. So it's through Pam Gregory that I found out about you as well. Because I knew about the organisation, but I didn't know who to speak to about it. And bless her, a wonderful interview on Pam Gregory's YouTube. Do get over to see Katherine on there chatting about stuff because Pam's bringing all the astrology, and following her as we do, and as anyone who follows astrology knows that come October, November, December, it's going to be pretty tough out there, and we are going to need to have some infrastructure in place in local communities so that we've got our food, we know where the fires are, and we've got people that we can talk with, because we don't actually know what's going to happen, but we do know we need to have a few more of our ducks lined up so that we're taking care of ourselves better. And can you feel that momentum going on here with the PHA then? This is all part of it.
I mean, this is it, isn't it? But when you get those communities talking together, you'll be amazed how many issues you can overcome. So when I started looking at this back when COVID hit, and I thought, right, this is it. This is the time. Um,
Yeah.
we need to find wells in every community, make sure we've got access to clean water. We need to organize the food side of things, and we need to sort health. If everyone's got a roof over their head, clothes on their back, they can get warmth. That's another thing,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to cook and take basic care of themselves. So I really stripped it back to basics when I was thinking about this, and it still comes back to community, because in
Yes,
every community you can
always.
bet your bottom dollar you're going to find people who can help you out, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But the key things are those things that I listed off. And so we're looking at health, we're looking at food. Education is going to come into play, but it's not as urgent as the other two. But
Okay.
getting those community groups together is what's key, because if the proverbial hits the fan, those are the people you're going to need to lean into, and that's into each other.
Mm.
So getting this basic foundation in place now is key for what potentially looks like it's coming. I think it's probably going to be ramped up even quicker now. I think, having thought about it over the last week and watching what's going on, I wouldn't be surprised if August, September, things get a little tricky. I think they are going to get worse leading up towards the end of the year. But I do think that almost we have to go through this.
It's like a birthing canal, isn't it? We have to
Yeah.
go through this to get to the other side, because these initiatives of the People's Health Alliance and other similar ones are all wanting to happen. They are actually happening now, and they're going to be there to pick up the pieces after the old ways have dissolved. And they're not going to go down easily. Let's face it, they're going to go down with fighting and spitting. Just need to know where you can go to hunker down and support one another, make sure you've got food. Exactly. So this brings us round to, if people have got urgent needs, like they need to get an ambulance, they need to have urgent care, and they're not getting the attention that they would like from the NHS, because let's face it, we know the NHS is pretty much crumbled now. Is there a plan within PHA to assist with this urgent emergencies?
Again, it was something that was going to be months and months away in the original plans, but thank you, government and NHS, we're having to bring that fast forwarded. So there was an announcement some weeks ago by West Midlands Ambulance Service that they said by August the 17th, we're no longer be able to send out paramedic ambulances for 999 calls. They've now backtracked. Rumour is that they were looking for funding. Their little PR shout got them said funding. Don't know. We could only go based on the information we were given.
Sure.
So, but we've since then had one of our partner groups has very kindly done a load of freedom of information requests and so on and so forth. So we know the ambulance service is nosediving, and we also know that A&E waiting times are increasing dramatically, and we cannot see a way this is going to change anytime soon. We just don't believe for a minute that reformation is going to come. So it was a decision that was made amongst a group of us core team members, if you like, and it was one that what we're gonna do is launch a campaign, which I'll explain in a moment, to tackle this. And the way we intend to do that, we've spoken to lots of paramedics, we've spoken to doctors, we've spoken to holistic practitioners who are more focused on acute care side of things, and looked at what we need to do. So it is about getting specialist equipment into each hub group across the UK, and making sure there's a substantial amount of volunteers trained in advanced first aid who could rotate that kind of service, if you like, so that if people are in their homes and God forbid someone has a heart attack and needs to have a defibrillator, or something happens, really nasty burns, for example, things like that, whereby it'd usually be either an emergency, resus situation or a kind of triage situation, so that we can at least try and help some people within our communities who, in all honesty, are just not getting the ambulances or aren't able to get to A&E. And if you watch what's happening there, it's having a knock-on effect on the rest of the hospitals. GPs aren't doing what they're supposed to do. So those patients who are desperate now to see someone end up going to A&E. It's just a whole big mess. Those people who need, emergency care and are unable to get it, we just hope that through this power of the pound and appeal and this kind of we haven't come up with a name for it yet, but this kind of emergency campaign, through that we'll be able to at least save some lives. People won't need to be on their own, frightened and scared. Families can get the support there, but hopefully they'll be able to kind of distribute care well enough that they can save some lives. And it's come to that stage now, whereas if we don't do it, who's going to? Because you can't rely on the government, you can't rely on the NHS.
That's it. And that's saying to you who's listening or watching, we're all in this together. If we don't do it, who's gonna? That's the thing about people-led society, community.
One thing that keeps coming back to me for years and years and years, this message has been in my head: if not me, who? And if not now, when? We have to take some responsibility here. Shouldn't have to, but we are. And actually what we'll do coming out the other side of it is actually going to be beautiful as a result of us taking responsibility.
Exactly. And you're such a pioneer, and you're such a power force behind all of this. And thank you so much, Katherine, for standing up and putting a flag in the ground and going, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it now, and look how many people have come into this, and your other co-founders as well, absolutely brilliant. How can people find out more about getting involved then? Where can they go?
Fantastic. So there's a number of different routes. Excuse me. In terms of the appeal, I just spoke about the power of the pound appeal. That's basically asking everybody who can to donate £1 a month. More if you can, that's great. If you can't, don't worry about it. fantastic if you could do £1 a month, even if you could do a £1 payment. What we want to make sure is everybody feels included. It's not the most buoyant of financial times, so we understand that, you know, we need to allow for everybody to have an opportunity to get involved. So the Power of the Pound campaign details can be found on our website. And that's if you go to the-pha.org, that's where you'll find all of our information. And then there's a lot of different email options on there, whether you want to look at, maybe it's getting involved with the practitioners, maybe it's a volunteer situation you want to get involved in. You can find the email addresses on our website. We also have a number of Telegram groups, the main one being the People's Health Alliance. And on there, and one of the pinned posts at the top, you'll find all the varying different groups, whether it be for a variety of modalities. That could be homeopathy, it could be, you know, medical, it could be holistic, whatever. And then there's other groups that are listed, all of the hub groups. So every single one of the hub groups that's now available in the UK is listed there. So you can go and find your local hub group. But there's also a page on how to start a hub, so that you've got a group you can go and lean into if you want to start a hub. And then soon we will be launching the international groups. We're kind of just letting them get bedded in first and find their feet, and then they'll be available to the public as well. So yeah, there's lots of different ways to get in contact, and please do, but always appreciate it is a volunteer-based organization. These people are giving up all of their time and energy to make this happen. So if you don't get an immediate response, you'll get a response, but we obviously have to work with what we've got.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the more people that get involved and sharing their skill sets, the more the energy is going to build and the momentum's going to happen. And then the currency of money or whatever it is we need, because we also know that the financial situation, the financial is all going to collapse too. But so what currency can we use? Whatever you've got and are willing to share, that's absolutely key. And is there anything you'd like to say just to round this this chat off, Katherine?
I think I'd say that everyone can do something. So even if you don't feel you're a healer, or the health resonates with you, look out for the food groups, because we're going to partner through the People's Food and Farming Alliance. We're going to partner with other groups. It's not just about us, it's about us all. Be it education, be it local, you know, local politics, be it alternative media. There are so many ways you can get involved. If you're unsure, check our partners and affiliates page, because some of the groups are on there. If not, reach out. We will connect you with some other group that you can get involved with. Don't ever feel you haven't got a role to play, even if it's an hour a week. We will find you something to do. There's always going to be something you can do.
Yeah. Oh, bless you. Thank you so much, Katherine, for being part of Chi Time.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. And thank you all for listening and watching. Your energy is important and the choices you make matter. So take care of your good selves and reach out and see if there's anyone in your community that would like to share a cup of tea or something.
Yeah.
So
Start there.
yeah. Thanks so much. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.